Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. And welcome to our masterclass series and the last class of the series, which is using content to improve your online conversion. Obviously, very important in today's age to convert online. Now, joining me, well, not joining me, leading our call and our lecturers for today are Monique Thacker he's a Senior Vice President of Marketing for Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. So I'm sure everyone is very familiar with that hotel in Asia. And Ivan Cintado is the Director for Asia Pacific for the Hotels Network. Hi guys, gentlemen, welcome to the call.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Good to be here.
Thank you. Now, just before we kick off, I'll take 5 minutes of everyone's time just to run through a little bit about HSMAI. And the first part is about decoding. What does HSMAI mean? It's an acronym for a fairly long name, the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International. Now, HSMAI was founded, we're celebrating our 95th birthday this year. So we were founded in 1927. So quite an old organization. And we cover 4 key regions, being the Americas, Europe, Asia Pacific, and the Middle East. And essentially, HSMAI is a membership organization, and it's an individual membership organization. So essentially, we operate like a professional society. We focus on individuals' improvement of their knowledge of the industry and knowledge sharing, their skill sets through education, and providing event and networking opportunities for people working in or managing the commercial and marketing disciplines in hotels and resorts. So as I mentioned, we're a membership organization. If you'd like to become a member, we have over 7,000 members across 41 countries globally. And there's many benefits to becoming a member and being on the inside, getting some inside information on our industry, whether that be certifications, our industry events, networking opportunities, or short courses. Just visit hsmaiasia.org and go to the membership page, and you can find out more about what membership entails, and we would very much welcome you to become a part of our association. Now, a good part of our association, we have a whole branch called HSMAI Academy, where we focus purely on education, and you can visit that on hsmaiacademy.org. We have 3 certifications, which I'll go into a moment, which are well known, over 20 online courses, and certificate programs. So if you are looking at the next step in your career or just to get refreshed on a certain area or certain skill, then please visit the site and see an abundance of opportunities to educate yourself are available. And lots of the courses are just online driven, so very easy to complete and quite quick. Now, probably our best known courses are CRME, which is a Certified Revenue Management Executive, and the CHDM, which is a Certified Hotel Digital Marketer certification. So this is for people who have been doing either revenue or marketing, digital marketing for quite some time and want a globally recognized certification. And obviously that opens the doorway to different job opportunities and so forth. So again, you can visit the HSMAI Academy site and learn more about those certifications. Okay, we're almost done with 2022, so there's no next upcoming events for this year, apart from this is our last official event for our event calendar as we all head towards the festive season and Christmas. But 2 of our key events in our event calendar for 2023, which you should mark your calendars now, our HSMAI Rock concert, event, which will occur on the 11th to the 12th of May in 2023. And also a HSMAI Digital Marketing Strategy Conference in Phuket on the 23rd of August. So if you're interested in either of those events, you can visit our website and mark your calendars now and just track that as we get closer to the event. Now, the masterclass series was born out of our Rock 2022, which was held in June in Singapore at Marina Bay Sands. Thank you, Monique, for providing the space. It was a fantastic event. We had over 150 attendees, with 90% of those attendees being their first in-person event that they had attended in a few years. And that went right through from the C-suite, so like chief marketing officers, chief revenue officers, right down to the hotel executive teams. So it was a fantastic event, a great opportunity for hotel management teams to meet the senior management of different groups. And there was a real dynamic in the room, just based on everyone hadn't seen each other for a few years. But as you can see up here, if you can see my cursor, there's Ivan, running this same class, almost 6 months ago. So I can't believe that's flown, Ivan. And then the organizing committee and the speakers and so forth behind the event, everyone did a fantastic job. And I think that was the first photo everyone was in without masks in a few years. So once again, if you mark your calendar for 2023, we'd love to see you there. And it really is one of our marquee events and will be held again at Marina Bay Sands in 2023. Okay, you can stay connected with us on link in bio. Just look up HSMI Asia Pacific or contact us directly on info@hsmiasia.org. And for today's webinar, I am going to register all of you as panelists. So it doesn't mean you have to turn on your video, but it means you'll be able to speak at any given time if you'd like to ask a question. But if you prefer the Q&A function, please don't raise your hand. Maybe just use the Q&A. If a question occurs to you, then park it in the Q&A function. And at some point, either Monique, myself, or Ivan will address the question and we can have an open question time with that. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our experts for today. And thank you for joining once again. I'll see you at the end of the class. All right, over to you, Ivan and Monique. I believe Monique is going to kick off.
All right, I'm going to try. I'm going to try this. It's been a while. Only practicing for the last 2.5 years. But let's see.
Yes, but then we've had in person now, so everyone's like, oh, that's right. How do I use Zoom again?
All right, I think, Glenn, you need to enable screen sharing for me, which seems to be disabled.
Oh, you came back on, that's right. Yes, you docked off for a moment, that's right. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, you should be able to share now.
Ready.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Works well. Great. So, well, good afternoon to everybody on the webinar. Glenn, thank you very much for those very, very kind intros. So as you would see from this agenda, there are two major sections to this. What I'll be taking on is really just introducing the importance of content. What is content? Why is it important? And then Ivan's going to take us through really some great examples that he's got, some best practices, and just some amazing ideas for content at different touch points throughout the customer journey. You'll notice I've put in former against my title. So I'm no longer with Marina Bay Sands. I've just moved on. And so hence the former title. But I must also say that a colleague, an industry colleague and an HSMAI fellow board member, Matthew Braconier, has contributed a lot to this presentation and these slides. And I have only added in a little bit to it. Matthew, unfortunately, isn't here, and hence I will be delivering this section on behalf of both of us. So here goes. Really, to start off with, hopefully this works. Give me a second. It's not kind of moving. And there's generally happening. Hold on a moment, folks.
You had a freeze? Okay, that's
all right, it works. Okay, so what is content? I think it's important we just start with a common understanding of what we're referring to as content, and these are just definitions you can find anywhere, really. So content referring to anything such as video, audio, text, images, or a combination of any of these refers to as content. And then another definition that you'll find, which is in content marketing, so it's relevant to us, is really a strategic marketing approach that is focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content with a goal of attracting, retaining, clearly defined audience. Obviously, all our actions, we hope to drive profitable customer action at the end of the day. I've highlighted the key words that I thought very interesting and valuable to the rest of our discussion, and that is the content needs to be valuable, needs to be relevant, needs to be consistent. It's a clearly defined audience, and you'll hear Ivan talk a lot about personalization as well in his section. But we're really focusing on content being created for a specific target audience or a defined target audience, therefore making sure that it's relevant to them, it's consistently delivered, and and it's valuable. It means something to them or makes sense for them, so that they take some action that drives ultimately profitability for our business. And that's really what we're talking about in content marketing. And why does it matter? Obviously, for anything we do, to me, is one of my favorite questions to always ask is why? Why am I doing something? Why are you doing something? Why is it important? So why does content matter? And simply, it complements a good product. So when you combine the two, it's obviously focusing on successful sales. So you might have a great product, but if you aren't able to talk about it effectively to the right target audience, as we talked about before, if it's not valuable enough to them, um, if there is no good content, you're obviously not going to be succeeding in driving sales. So really, that's our short answer to this: as a good product plus good content equals successful sales. But there is a problem, and the problem is that a lot of the content that we've been producing or we see around us, and it's in multiple different forms, it's really poor content. Um, and in this definition or in this comment from the Content Marketing Institute, you'll see that it says, uses terms like it's awful and it's flat out awful. The reason for that is it's really not relevant to the audience. It's not useful to them. It's pointless content and content created for the sake of creating content. And surprisingly, just 1 in 3 marketers themselves believe that the content they develop is effective. So you can see the extent of the opportunity we are referring to here. It's obviously a massive, massive opportunity for us to ensure we get content right, or the impact of that is quite negative. A few things to remember about content and its kind of myths and tips around it. Most people would say the marketing team is responsible and accountable for content. The truth is, everyone is. Content cuts across all areas, not just commercial. In my opinion, every single person on your property, in the hotel, is delivering content in some form or the other. And that means even your concierge, your front desk, your restaurants, there are people working in these areas, and the way you present your product, that's content at the end of the day that people are consuming. Another myth: content is mostly to talk about my brand and my products, and it's similar to advertising. Well, the first thing that we learn here is that content is not about just your product. It's not about you. It's not about your product. It's about the customer. It's driven by the customer first. We all talk about customer centricity and keeping the customer at the center of everything we do. This is no different. We are creating content for the right type of customers. So think about who your audience is, what kind of motivators drive them to take action, and what is it that really works for them and keeps them engaged. And that's the type of content you're going to have to create for them. The content, I've heard a lot of companies say, a lot of people say there's a content is a cost center. You can't quite measure the ROI. However, that's not true. If you have a set of defined KPIs, and doesn't necessarily have to be direct revenue or direct conversion, there are a lot of other sort of KPIs that you develop along the way. If you think about a customer journey, which we'll talk about in just a minute, there are different actions that customers take that you're able to track, which ultimately drive to conversion. And your goal is to figure out which of those pieces of content at different touch points had some level of contribution to conversion into the return that we're talking about. Now, attribution modeling is a completely different subject, which we won't get into, but different touch points throughout a customer journey contribute or, it's attributed to driving sales. So each of these areas is quite important. Another myth: once I've produced my content piece, the job is done. Well, not quite. You need to constantly test and learn. You create a piece of content, you want to make sure that you're testing and learning whether it's working or not. And then you want to make sure you're improving from what isn't working. Where are the gaps? Why are people not engaging with that piece of content? What could be wrong? there is a lot of capability that exists today for us to test every single aspect of that consumer journey of every piece of content. And therefore, it's quite important to ensure you're testing, you're learning, and keep that cycle going so that you're constantly improving on the content you create. Let's look at this customer journey. Now, don't focus on every single little touch point there. What I've done here is just created a typical customer journey map that all of us are aware of or should know of taking a customer through the awareness stage into consideration, and from there on, driving acquisition. And when they're on property, type of services you're delivering, and obviously the goal of retaining those customers through loyalty, through rewards programs. Now you see the number of touch points over here, both digital as well as physical touch points that I've articulated. And this is just an example. There are tons more such customer touch points that you are able to or need to be creating content at. When you think about so much content that you need to constantly be creating, and all of this needs to be relevant to that type of customer. So therefore, you need to be creating multiple pieces of, let's say, online display in the top left-hand corner, or paid content, for example, or social content, for example. You are targeting different customers at different stages of that journey. Now, this is not all linear. You're going to be using search and social at different stages of this customer journey, not just at the awareness stage or not just at the consideration stage. But your content, if it's focused on awareness through social, is different to when maybe you're focusing on the consideration stage or the acquisition stage. So these are the kinds of things that is important for us to understand before we set about creating content. Now, how do you know? It's a constant learning, asking your customers, being online, measuring their behavior. What type of content do they regularly engage with? Which piece of content that you created worked well and didn't work well? And with which audience type content A worked? For example, content B may work very, very well for a different audience group, but may not work well for another audience group. So these are the kinds of things you've got to be constantly testing and recording and storing that data so that you know when you are retargeting a specific customer group, what type of content works best for them. And it's important also to ensure that all your content is born off of the same DNA. And that's really where your brand takes center stage. You need to be creating a strong brand proposition and developing or creating content for every single touch point that's driven off of that same DNA. I don't mean creating the same content, obviously, for every single platform, but really the same style of creating that content. That's very, very important so that it's recognizable. It starts meaning something to customers, because a lot of times you'll find that your first piece of content and your first touch point isn't going to drive conversion. You have to be hitting up customers and audiences 3, 4, 5 times. That's the kind of frequency you're talking about before they might actually convert or you acquire them. And that's why all of these pieces of content throughout this customer journey is exceedingly important to get right. So let's talk about just a couple of those stages. First of them being the awareness, and just some examples here. Making it easy for customers to understand what's unique about you. So starting interesting conversations is an example that Matthew shared from Como. All of this trying to drive an interesting conversation, trying to generate interest and awareness for a customer. Identifying unbranded keyword opportunities. Now, this is quite important. In search, we all know there's branded keywords and unbranded keywords. Unbranded keywords are important, though they're more expensive than branded keywords, just because the sheer volume that is being bid on those unbranded keywords. But you need to be able to figure out which of those unbranded keywords present an opportunity. And all of that can happen through testing. Again, it's trial and errors and testing that will tell you what kind of unbranded keywords you should be looking at. Now, in this example that Matthew shared, the IHG, for example, with these keywords, that you see up on the screen has no volume against that. And so, but you see Hilton and Marriott generating some level of performance. So that's probably an opportunity for IHG to consider. And then PR. PR becomes extremely important. It's an extension of your own media or your own content or your own distribution channels. And the power of PR can absolutely not be ignored. It's very, very critical. Most campaigns that you will do, any kind of initiatives that you're launching, generally you want to start with PR, creating that kind of content, creating a bit of a buzz, and then you follow up with some paid content. One of these examples for Como, as you see here, where Matthew talks about including affiliated or booking links, that really depends from brand to brand and company to company. There is no right answer on this one. My personal opinion is not to include these booking links simply because you're driving customers away from your own direct channel. And so I would not necessarily be putting OTA or affiliate links on my website to drive people there. However, for certain brands, that might be the strategy, and you might want to do that or consider that. If you do that, you want to make sure that the content you've got on your own channels, as well as third-party channels, is effectively mirrored, and it's the same type of content and not contradictory in any form. That's the only message that I would share. But personally, I would not be doing, or I would not be putting those links, but it really depends from brand to brand what works for you. Then let's get into the conversions or acquisition stage, where you make it easy for your customers to ensure they book the right product. So here is where retargeting is important. As you're getting customers to engage with your brand the very first time because they really liked a piece of content at the awareness stage, you've collected that information. You create digital IDs for these customers, and you start creating behavior patterns based on how they browse and how they interact through your website, for example. As you get more of this information and more of this data, which we are calling first-party data, obviously, you use that for retargeting. And based on their interests, based on their profile, based on their behavior that they've demonstrated and the motivators that you know, you can create a lot more personalized content that you can utilize for retargeting so that you can drive a greater conversion rate. Similarly, booking engine. A lot of times we ignore what happens after the customer lands on our website. We feel as marketers sometimes our job is done once they manage to get the customers online. But it's completely untrue, right? Because the website itself, the content you're creating on your website, is not just great for search engine optimization because you've got so much of relevant content there that drove those customers in the first place, but the right type of content, the right type of experience on your website is what's going to drive that conversion ultimately. Hence, it becomes extremely important to ensure that your booking engine content as well is very, very optimized. Otherwise, you're going to have drop-offs at the booking engine stage. It's important for us to be tracking where the drop-offs are occurring, at what stage of that customer journey or the booking journey you're seeing drop-offs, and why there are drop-offs. A lot of times it's because you may not have had the right information available on the website. A lot of times the price may not be right, for example. And a lot of times it may be payment issues. There are a lot of these types of things that make up all of this is relevant content for the customer. You want to make sure you get it right so that your people aren't dropping off because of a poor experience. And then lastly, optimizing your OTA content. I kind of referenced that on the previous slide, making sure that what content you've got on your website, you have that on your OTA site as well. So treating them the same way you treat your own channels to ensure consistency of information, and making sure that if customers do go to the OTA site to book, there isn't any conflicting or as I said, contradictory information there. So in summary, to be successful, some of the points, some of the things you need, the right kind of measurement and not ROI alone, as I mentioned earlier. There are various different metrics that you can use or track to determine if the content for that specific touch point is working for you or is not working for you. constant testing to learn, to improve. Obviously, you need the right kind of resources, and then the budget. Whether it's headcount, whether it's spend budgets, you need to be determining and budgeting for creation of content and justifying the return by tracking how content that you've created in the past has worked for you. Again, we're not going to get into any sort of attribution modeling on this call right now, but those are ways in which you're able to track what piece of content at what stage worked or did not work, and allows you to start creating budget based on the conversions and ROI that you were able to drive. Right, that's it for me. I am going to stop sharing my screen and pass this over to Ivan to take us through the rest of the presentation. As Glenn said earlier, if you do have any questions, please pop them into the chat now or later. We'll be tracking that and do our best to answer it. Ivan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Monique. So please let me know that I'm sharing the right screen, which is something that I learned to fear in the last couple of years.
No, we can
It
see
works.
your agenda,
Good.
best practices for hotel content. Yeah.
So thank you for the insights. Again, that was a good look into why content matters and multiple touch points in the journey. In this part of the class, we're going to focus on best practices in hotel dynamic content for your website, the benefits of creating experiences for your user with personalization, and how to engage users to move them successfully from one step to the next of your booking funnel. First of all, we need to understand that your website and your booking engine are the hotel's eShop. These platforms allow you to showcase your product, offer availability to these products, and a way to purchase that product, whatever that product might be. Sometimes it's a room, it might be a spa if you have one, or a meeting space or lunch or dinner. It is important to understand that 80%, if not 90% of the users that spend the last night in your hotels have been on your website sometime prior purchasing. So this class is going to go around the best practices in ways to satisfy the need of your potential guests and drive them direct. So let's start by identifying who your user is. In a traditional website, every user receives the same experience, while in fact, each and everyone has a very unique reason to have reached to your website. A very unique set of needs, a very unique behavior that can be identified in the way in which they search and move from one step to the next of the funnel. There are other external elements like disparities and alternative platforms, and we would look at plenty of those variables in the session. The benefits on identifying these clues on how to convert those users to make a booking are very clear. Number one, your chances of conversions increase if you deliver the right product to the right users in hospitality and in any other eShop. Number two, your ADR is higher on direct bookings as you are not sharing commissions. Your direct channel is your cheapest distribution channel. Number three, you own that client. So you have their contact details, you have very strategic data sets like the check-in and check-out dates. So there's plenty of opportunities for you within the funnel to identify upselling opportunities and deliver a better service experience. Now, these strategies are not exclusive to hotels, and we're going to look at some of the other industries using personalization in order to convert. Let's look into Netflix. There's much more to Netflix than what meets the eye. You know that Stranger Things is the most watched series in the last 2022. In the first 28 days of the platform, it counted for over 1.3 billion hours viewed. And I have an open question here for the audience. On the last series or movie that you watched from Netflix, how many of you think that you actually chose that movie because you wanted to see it? Versus how many of you actually got invited by the platform to watch that series and told you that, because you watched this, you should look at this series. So Netflix is a perfect example of personalization.
Yeah.
If you look at their website, they do have a very minimal part, which is focused on you making a search of what you want to see. And 99% of the platform of the screen is delivered to show you the content that they currently have. So by looking at your user profile, they can see what is the best image that will convince you to click on that series. For example, let's say that you normally have been looking at romantic movies. They will show you this picture. If you are more inclined for horror movies, they will have this image for you. And if you've been looking at family shows, they will show these other pictures. The idea is to deliver the right content and in the right field for them to showcase the content that they currently have. Because if you do happen to want to watch Pulp Fiction, for example, you will not have that movie in their platform, and you probably will see that in their platform. So the need for them to personalize is to manage the inventory.
I think it's my add that I think all the online platforms are doing that rather well these days, like Shopee or Amazon. You know, if you're shopping for this product, you might be interested in these 7 products, and you find yourself going, I just bought 4 things more than I intended to whilst I was shopping. So they're all doing that preference rated. If you're in the market for this specific item, then you're obviously going to be interested in these, you know, ancillary items as well.
Indeed. We have OTAs working on personalization.
Yes.
What is the interest for an OTA? To showcase as many properties as possible to match your criteria.
Absolutely.
There are other means by which you can have personalization. Let's look at Nike, for example. They provide through Nike ID a platform where you can actually create a unique pair of sneakers. You can choose multiple options of your shoes, the color of different areas of the shoes, the size of the stick or the color, the way the laces look, or even personalize your name on it. The exclusive product is not only on how unique you can make it. There's only one place where you can purchase it. You do not deliver this product to all the retailers. You can only acquire it in Nike.com. It will come a very easy example, which we have seen over the pandemic, how hotels have adapted their strategy and created unique products for staycations and unique packages that could only be purchased because we needed to create experiences, right? Like work from hotel, food delivery, things like this, right? In fact, I'm sure on our audience, we have many hoteliers which have been requested by OTAs to create packages for them and make them available. My suggestion is do create those packages and still remain the exclusivity on your website, something that you can actually relate. So this is a product that you can only purchase if you book direct. So let's focus on the booking funnel, and let's look at, we've seen with Monique, multiple moments prior landing to the website, acquiring that traffic, making sure that that user is the right user, and find out the users within your environment that could be meaningful with related content. Some of them that you create within your own platform, some of them that you place in other platforms. Let's focus on booking direct. So there are 3 main questions any user on any platform to purchase any product need to be answered. Is this the right product for me? Does it offer what I need? Do I have, even if it's in a mobile, does it have a front camera? Does it have a rear camera? Do I have a good battery? What is it that may convince me to purchase the product? And am I at the right place to purchase this product? You as a hotelier, when you have a user on your website, you want one question to be answered. You want that booking to be made now. Because if that user leaves, it's very likely that they might not come back. They will be retargeted by different platforms and so on. So let's start with the right hotel. On right reputation, it's very relevant. We all know a bad review can become the focal point of an internal meeting. And revising and responding effectively to that situation is crucial for the hotel's reputation. The idea of bringing reviews to your site is an effective way to act on this. And often hotels do without taking into consideration some threats, right? So let's look at a couple of examples. Here, this hotel is showcasing the reviews. You see, it's a 4.6 out of 5. It's an excellent top 3 hotels in Bangkok, Jai. They can enable some reviews. They're 4.5 out of 5 in TripAdvisor. They're 9 out of 10 in Booking.com, 9.2 out of Hotels.com, and 4.7 out of 5 in Expedia. So overall, it's delivering the message that this is a good property. This very same property on the bottom part of their website include a comment from TripAdvisor and a logo from TripAdvisor, which actually is got a clickable functionality. So when you click on this logo, you are automatically redirected to the page this hotel is meant to have in TripAdvisor. Straight away, the price of the hotel has been compromised, and alternative properties are showcased on this page to offer alternative accommodations. You will see prices which are here. You see that the price of the hotel already has been compromised. Expedia has a special promotion. And then suddenly the user is aware of multiple properties on the higher rank of that price and also availability in the lower part of that price. This is what I mentioned before, Glenn.
Yeah.
TripAdvisor and Google, and other meta spaces as well as OTAs work on personalization, but the focus of personalization for them is to deliver the right hotel for you. So they will give you an array of hotels around the same price of the one that you wanted, right, to give you that scope. In this case, this client now is aware of the existence of hotels that before probably didn't know about. And the facilitator was a call to action which happened in your website. So a suggestion would be, do not drive users away from your website on these calls to actions. The third question that you need to answer is this the right place to purchase? And in order to do so, you can bring price comparisons to your booking engine. It is important you offer a trustworthy information, and it needs to be 100% accurate, because you do not want to offer misleading information, because then it will be you breaking the trust of that user. So your price comparison needs to take into account IP address of the user, and it should also understand the device in which the user is connecting from, because OTAs are looking at these variables in order to play with these parities. Here you have 2 examples where you can highlight only prices which are higher than yours, and also alternatives where you can actually highlight prices which are lower than yours, and you can fight for that disparity. Let me share you an example here. This hotel, the booking engine is showing a price of $126 for that particular search. The hotel is showing 2 different parts. Number 1, my search is for the 22nd of November to the 23rd of November is 1 night, but they offer a special nudge. And I know people will call it pop-up. In this case, I will call it targeted personalization, right? So when you book minimum 2 nights, you will get free 2-way airport transfer. So you are actually trying to enhance that search, saying, hey, you search for 1 night. If you search 2, there's something for you. Number 2, the price comparison is enabling an actual discount. The price is 105, it's not 126 as the booking engine says. There's a call to action to offer a discount, because in this case, Agoda and Booking.com both had cut the rate of the hotel in different price ranges. So the hotel decided to show this to the user and offers a unique discount to counter and stand by the best rate guarantee. Now, this is one of the practices. Not all of them, not all the hotels want to approach this way. Book now. As I mentioned before, if users leave your website, it is possible they will never come back to it. So for this reason, it's important to provide an easier way to return to your site. In this layer here, we see Save Your Search, which is an opportunity to deliver the dates of search and price to your mailbox. This way, you are a click away of coming back to the point in which that user dropped off. Here we have another way to personalize, in which the user is invited to share some details, and the hotel is ready to move on to a one-on-one conversation with that user with more details about their stay, so they can actually convert that booking with through the reservation team. We have a second question, which we left for the end, which is personalization. How do we make sure we deliver the right message to deliver the user that this is the right search for me? So we go back to this page before. We have already addressed the fact that every individual making a search on your website is a unique human being. We often call them traffic, actually, on our day-to-day lingo. And we fail to identify that there is individual requests behind every user that is searching. So it's somehow correct not to address them as traffic, but to look at them at the way in which they behave on your website. Now, how can you look behind every click? How do we look at the person that is outside behind that communication and still be loyal to GDPR? So we can address that through targeted personalization. A bit like a form of Aikido. I don't know if you know the martial art, where you use the opponent's strength in order to counter and use that strength to defend yourself. So users are daily asking you for things on your website. They're sharing their travel plans with you. They're sharing how many people are they going to be within their request and so on. So it's an issue of listening to that and reacting in real time. So how does behavioral targeting work? In order to display hyper-relevant content to make offers to each visitor. Let me stay in this page a little longer, because afterwards I'm going to show lots of examples and actually some of the exercises that we will do. And hopefully we get a lot of interaction from you guys. Are going to be focused on some parts of this page. So a user's IP can guide you towards understanding their nature. Are they a domestic traveler, or are they an international one? We all know now how relevant it is to nurture your domestic travel. We somehow, in 2019, we had probably forgotten about that fact, but the last 3 years made us realize that there's a market out there in our domestic traffic, and probably we should talk to them different than the international market. Actually, if they are coming from international market, they may as well come from a particular market, which is one of your strengths, in which you maybe are driving traffic from. So understanding the geolocation of the user is key in order to deliver the right experience for them. Now, traffic source. How did that user come to you? Did they come from Google? So perhaps they already saw your rates in Meta, and you want to focus on a best rate guarantee strategy. Did they click from one of your social media posts, and you want to continue with the story that inspired them to go to your website? The idea is to identify multiple data sets and prepare yourself for those situations. What do dates of search tell you about a user? Is the stay dates coincide with a particular relevant date? Is that user search and the dates of search have or include the 31st of December? Is this date of search for a weekday or a weekend? Is this search for tonight, or is this search for 3 weeks from now? So to deliver early bird, last minute promotions that you may as well just prepared already in your special offers page, but you do not wait for the user to go to your special offers page and find out which is the right offer for them. but you can deliver that message the moment that the search qualifies for that particular offer. Is the user connecting on a mobile device or a desktop? How is your conversion rate when users search from a mobile? Do you use the same type of content, or do you alter the messaging to match that device? Is that user coming from a paid ad? So you already have paid for that user. How do you convert that user? So let's go and dwell into some examples and how messages can be targeted to fit for a purpose. In this case, we have a search for an adult and a children. The message that the hotel delivers is, did you know children under age of 5 always stay for free at elite hotels? Now, I understand that messages and what so-called pop-ups are often annoying, are perceived as to be annoying. But the problem normally is that the message that you are including to that message is not relevant to the user search. If I'm searching for an adult and a kid, and you are actually telling me that my kid is free of charge if I stay in the room with me, that message is relevant to me. In this case, we have exclusive offer for your domestic travel to increase ADR. So the offer says, looking for a weekend getaway. It's a layer which is in the homepage, and it's targeting domestic users. In this case, it's a hotel in South Africa. Again, you play with the style, you play with the size of the message, and you deliver a message based on what you expect to be the right message for the right user. You can target messages based on the dates of stay. So if the number of stay are close to the next discount for a long stay offer, you can invite that user to stay a little longer with you. Or you can revisit the experience based on how many times that user is coming back to your website. So instead of saying the same message to the same user over and over again, is probably deliver a message that is only visible if the user is making a second or a third time search, and you identify that that IP address has not gone to the end of the booking funnel. So you know they do not have a booking. Therefore, you invite them with a retargeting message. Now, the reasons can be endless. You can participate in different messages for Christmas, for Black Fridays, and so on. In this case, we actually have one offer where a hotel in Southeast Asia, obviously, is going to have a summer Christmas. So adapt the message and the tone of the voice of your hotel to the user that is reacting with you. And then remain creative. This is a Black Friday offer, which many hotels are doing nowadays. And in the case of hotels, Black Friday can drive to Black Week, Black Month, Black November, and so on. In this case, they actually decided to paint Black Friday in green. So they do not offer any discounts, but they give the offer to the user, say, if you book direct, we plan a trip. So your stay is meaningful, and you create a link of engagement with that user. So there's a value, you also mix the social responsibility of this property with that purchasing process of booking a room. So the idea is to be creative and to be able to measure the impact of your tools. Also, generate your website. Your website, it's capable of doing much more. Your website is very clever at holding content, but not to deliver the right content to the right person at the right time. This is a strategy put by Tribe Hotels in Kenya, in Nairobi. In the spa, they created a form where you put the name, email, phone number, date, and the special request. These are just some examples of the 42 requests they received in the last 30 days. I'm staying at the hotel and would be keen to book a press post spa package for Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Please let me know if that works. Wanted to book a 60 minutes deep tissue massage tonight, 6:30 p.m. if possible. 10 a.m. deep tissue massage, 90 minutes or so. So you generating actually different engagement from people who could perfectly walk into the spa and find out, and they're finding on your website a solution to be able to work. We mentioned also URL variables, possibilities of delivering messaging when the user is coming from paid ads. Personalized content drives higher conversion rates, even on to sustain your return on ad spend. So it's already been tested that users that receive a personalized message when they come from a click-through campaign perform better than those users that continue the user experience like any other user. So here is a potential example. This is one of my searches when I am now trying to figure out about my sports results with the World Cup at the center. And here I see the Linden Suites is getting some dynamic ads. I'm Spanish, so you see that this is a Spanish newspaper. Then Santiburi is also, so all the targeting options of websites that I normally visit. If I click on this ad, then the message that I receive is when I go to the booking engine, the URL is driving me directly to the booking engine, and then the offer to start applying that promo code is already there. So it helps me potentiate that offer, which I actually targeted on my on my paid campaign. Again, the idea is to deliver multiple available tools to boost conversion while the users are landing to your website based on the efforts that you have generated into driving those users in. The formats are multiple. You can do smart notes, you can do layers, you can do inliners, possibilities to send messages which are targeted within your script. And now we're going to do some exercises. So I don't know if people want to put the volume up, or if probably they want to answer through the comments. We're going to do some exercises based on some of the examples that we have done, and let's see if we can get some ideas on potential personalization strategies that you can put into practice. Okay. So let's start with showing the right message to the right user. So it's a family weekend trip. It's a domestic traveler, and it's 2 adults and 1 kid. So how do we build the perfect offer? I'm going to give you 4 options. Option number 1, a layer on the homepage to promote direct booking benefits. Option number 2, a layer on the booking engine promoting business package. Option number 3, a layer on the booking engine promoted weekend family package. And option D, exit intent in the booking engine and carrying the newsletter subscription. Do we have any comments?
I think you'll find people are usually very shy. So we're relying on yesterday's class. No one accepted the comments, but I think the best way is to ask if they put it in Q&A. Then if they've got a response on Q&A, they can go there. And if you'd like to speak.
It's a very easy scenario. You can do A, yes. B, C, or D. You don't have to. Okay,
I'm thinking C is free. Okay, I'll guess C. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more comments coming in through your comment box?
Nope.
No.
Okay.
Indeed. So how did we find out about this user? So the user can be identified that is a weekend family trip on the booking engine based on the dates of search and based on the type of search that they're doing. The local trip, the fact that it's a local traveler, can be seen on the IP address of the user. So a combination of those would give you a family fun, and you will be able to target that notification when the dates of search coincide with the criteria of that search. Let's see if we have better luck with this second potential scenario. It's a solo trip.
Solo trip.
It's 1 week. The user is coming from Instagram and is searching from Berlin. So the 4 options, A, B, C, D, that we present is layer on the homepage promoting Black Friday offer, smart note on the booking engine to promo for social users, layer on the booking engine promoting weekend family package, or exit on the homepage encourage visitors to follow you on Instagram.
I'd say B. It's engine phone for search discounts, free or B.
B.
Yeah.
You don't have any comments from anyone? Everyone's still very shy?
Yeah, that's the way it generally works, but I'll say B, and I'd say it because, I mean, obviously it's specifically for a specific promo for social users, has a discount, has transport, shuttle, they're a single traveler. To me, that would appeal to me if I was that person, but you know, exit intent on the homepage. Yeah. Oh,
Now,
B, there
right
we go.
there, smart note on the booking engine. How do we get to that offer? So number one, we know that they're coming from Instagram based on the URL variables. We know it's a solo trip when they make a search on the booking engine. So combining those 2 variables, you can deliver messages such as this one, and you can create a campaign. So one call to action clicks to the other one. Option D is not a bad option if the client was coming from any other source. So when the exit intent is showing that the user is leaving, probably you ask them to follow one of your social media to make sure that they can reconnect with you through those platforms. We do a couple of extra questions and then see if anyone wants to jump in. So a single user, 1 adult, search is on a Wednesday to Friday and is searching from Bangkok. So smart note on the homepage, form for the spa package, including 10% premium treatments, layer on the booking engine promoting a business package, or inliner on the booking engine to communicate a pet policy.
Oh, I forgot can we go back and see what the original, can you just go back 1 slide? A single user Wednesday to Friday, searching Bangkok. So possibly a business traveler, traveling by himself, weekdays. Okay. So what are the choices? Yeah. Smart note. So layer, after work perks, free Wi-Fi. Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So the idea is, and here we have the example of that user, layer on the booking engine, working from 9 to 5, enjoy a breakfast, lunch menu dish with unlimited hot drinks and unlimited Wi-Fi for just £15 per person. I certainly hope that the £15 per person are because of the special meal and the drinks and not for the Wi-Fi. But you never know. Let's go for the last example, and then we can start thinking about wrapping it up, unless we have questions, etc. So dates of search are the October the 1st and October the 3rd. It's 2 adults and the hotel is in Singapore, and the user is connecting from the Gold Coast.
So it's a 3-day, 2-night, smart note, layer on booking engine, romantic getaway. Wow. So, I mean, it's free parking, 3, no parking, layer on booking engine. B, yes. So free carver bottle and chocolate for a romantic getaway. It's a couple. They're staying a short time. They don't drive, so they don't need parking. And how do we know it's F1? I mean, it could be the dates. What dates do they search? Does the F1 occur on those dates? 1st to the 3rd, is that F1 dates? Oh, it is.
I made you doubt there, but it's exactly that's the situation.
Okay. Yeah.
So the user is connecting from Australia. the user is searching for a particular date of search. You know that during those dates of search, something is happening. It could be St. Valentine's. If it's 14th of February and it's 2 adults, then you'll send a romantic package. You were not far from the concept. It was 2 adults. The hotel was in Singapore, and the hotel decided to go, are you rooting for this guy? Obviously, they're coming from Australia, so they are more likely to be in line with Danny Ricciardo than anyone else. Your dates match for one of the greatest events of the year. Stay with us and you will be able to enjoy the heart and soul of F1. We have an early bird promotion, so plan ahead and get a better deal. So they add a countdown layer to highlight the dates towards that user. So there are ways to be able to leverage relevant dates. If you're in Thailand and you are doing Loy Krathong, if you are on Mother's Day and someone is searching for a family and the dates of search include that period, you can eventually understand certain dynamics of that user based on all the targeting options that they have. So wrapping it all up, content is not a one-time activity, but a reflection of ever-evolving guest behavior. Let me just wrap up some of the points. Segment users so you can offer them a more personalized online experience. Show hyper-relevant messages at key points of the booking funnel. Don't forget to drown users down the booking journey with reassurance tools. The idea is to drive them from one step to the next until they go to the goal line, which is hopefully finalize a booking with you and become guest of your property. Adapt your website communication on the fly and get creative and always be true to your brand. And that's the end of my session. I don't know if there's any open questions or wrap up comments.
I think one thing that always comes up is, you know, when we like dating right back to Singapore, actually in June, you know, there were some really interesting and innovative software solutions and tech that, you know, was really, you know, helping that customer journey process, right? So this being one of them. So using content to drive a better conversion. And I think back in the day when people would look at this content, and this came up in our digital marketing conference in Phuket a few months ago as well, that, you know, is technology now, is it separating, is it making the gap wider between the mega brands and say a small hotel brand or a singular hotel? Or is it narrowing the gap, allowing kind of a smaller property or a smaller group or a single hotel to punch well above their weight in terms of capability, right? So back in the day, to do all these things, you know, you'd look at it if you're a smaller property and think, gee, that's, you know, that's really high tech and I'm not sure if we can afford that. But the thing with technology, it's just come down in price. And I think what most people want to understand, especially if you're at the hotel level, when they see something like this or a piece like this is, oh, well, that's out of my scope, or that's, you know, so pricing, is that something that's now, you know, affordable to a small hotel group or a singular hotel looking to, you know, add some tech to their capability? It's not a big investment anymore, is it? Like, it's something that's really become obtainable.
I think the cost of technology has come down a great deal compared with the previous periods. Probably the challenge is the amount of hands that you have. So you have to really analyze well your tech stack to make sure that it helps you survive rather than strangling you, right? Because at the end of the day, what you want to have is time to get analytics. We all want analytics. How many of those analytics are you actually able to take into action and convert into optimize your talent? So I think that price-wise is no longer the challenge. We have alternative challenges, but again, solutions are more user-friendly because the evolution of things, normally they're solutions to the problems, right? So it's already embedded into the technology that we are developing.
That's right. And remember, I think you were at Phuket, so at our digital marketing conference there, and it was like the new sort of skill set emerging is that, you know, say whether you're a director of sales and marketing or the GM of a hotel or in corporate, you know, is having that discerning ability to know what tech and when and how much, you know. So there's no point, you know, a small hotel investing in a full suite of, say, revenue management software, the best you can get, because they don't have the people to be able to action all those insights. You know, they don't have the time or the capability or the manpower to use, maybe 60 different data sets, to analyze what they're going to do next. But 4 or 5 or 10 they can do, they can get a general feel for the market, or, so it might be an entry level of that particular software. You don't need the full premium access, you need the lower level access, and then you build up over time as your resources and capability. So part of our thing, with the digital marketing conference, and certainly ROC in next is it May, part of that is educating our members on, and providing a point for them to come to say, look, I'm at this particular juncture. This is where I'm at with my revenue team. I've got 2 headcount and I'm a revenue manager and I look after 3 hotels. Who can we redirect them to within the, say, if it's HSMI, or who can we redirect them to? Say, look, don't take it from us. Go talk to Monique. He'll probably share some experiences that he's had in developing systems. And that's what we're trying to do, because the hard part at the moment is there's so much great technology and systems out there. It's just being able to discern what's right and what timing is right and how much you need. That's sort of what came up repetitively at some of the events that we've gone to. That's so whether that comes through for yourself, Ivan, because you're a vendor, not on the hotel side, is, people coming back to you and saying, look, that all sounds great, but is there a kind of can I do part of that? We're not ready. We don't have the headcount to be able to support all of that sort of thing.
We were created in 2015. And since then, we have evolved a great deal. I think that the way that we have managed to stay true to hotels' need is that we have always incorporated feedback from hotels in order to that the solutions will actually fit for a purpose and will help a pain point, right? Creating strategies to personalize, like the idea is that any meeting that is finished with the GM, the revenue management, and the marketing team, which for me is the commercial unit of the property. Any idea that is sealed on that table that morning can be live on your website that afternoon.
Wow.
Often the case is that normally everyone leaves the room, the order is sent to the e-commerce manager, and the e-commerce manager delivers that to the OTA partners, and they put it live really quickly. The wholesale manager send it to the wholesalers, and maybe they take 2-3 days to make deliver it in that channel. And then hotel normally is left with sending that message to the webmaster. Then the webmaster has to code that, put in a special offer, send it back to the marketing team. You validate that, and then once it's validated, it's getting 7 to 10 days, and then your other channels have been selling a product which was signed on your table. So the idea is to always fit for a purpose. So I feel that, when you purchase our solution, you need to see how you're going to incorporate that solution in your workflow.
Correct.
And if it's feasible to do that. There's no point in me buying a Ferrari if I'm going to have it on my parking and I'm not going to use it. I'm not going to have time to drive it.
Yeah, you got no Autobahn. You've got Bangkok traffic.
It's also something that has to be part onto them.
I think Monique pointed that out earlier. So
Monique
you have to learn to say why. You have to learn to say why a lot these days. Like why? Why should I? Oh, okay. And how would that fit? And okay, it fits, but do I have someone to drive that? Do I have a headcount that can take responsibility for that and understand it and so forth? So again, it comes down to that decision making is becoming a little bit more complex. But I think someone like Monique, for you, being a seasoned sort of executive commercial leader, you'd be able to walk into a property and say, right, how many people we got on the marketing team, revenue team, and okay, I know what systems we need, I know what level we're at, but the people that are in those properties might not have that, holistic vision to be able to know where they're at. And how do they decide? How would you recommend that they decide what system is for them next in terms of, relating to content and managing content and the customer journey?
Yeah, look, first of all, I'll respond to Ivan's point about the Ferrari. You can always send it to me, Ivan. No, don't worry. Driving.
You have time to drive it, huh?
Yeah.
But look, you're absolutely right. I think the biggest challenge for all hotels have been the amount you spend on technology and the amount you spend on people to manage that technology. Is it really all worth it? Do we have the headcount, structure, budgets, all that kind of stuff? And it's a very, very relevant point. But the two things the way I see it. One is technology drives automation, needs to drive automation.
Absolutely.
So there is a lot of technology, a lot of tools out there now that automate a lot of these things. In fact, booking engines themselves have begun adding these kinds, some of these basic features, at least
Yep.
not again the Ferraris or the Rolls Royce kind of features, but some good features in there. As far as automating some of these or these personalization or personalized journeys as you talk about. So that's one. And the second, I think it's important for a revenue manager or a digital marketer both to be cross-trained.
Yeah.
You can't just remain an old school revenue manager that is
Yeah.
sitting behind spreadsheets or other revenue management tools
Yeah.
and just turning pricing and distribution channels and that's it.
Yeah.
No, you need to understand digital marketing because those lines are blurred. And
Correct.
therefore, it's important for you to be able to take control of that entire customer journey. Because at the end of the day, throughout that entire journey, every single touch point is a revenue generating opportunity.
Yeah.
So why should you not be a revenue manager that understands that journey and is able to drive or enhance revenues through each of those touch points?
Yeah.
And personalizing an experience drives a greater customer experience. And it's a matter of having basic automation through booking engines, through systems. You don't have to have fancy tools and invest in
Correct.
expensive technology at all.
Yeah.
It is possible to achieve.
Yeah. I also, I mean, one of the things that came up, I think you added at the last minute into the deck, the customer journey where you had all the points. And I've seen about 3 or 4 versions of that even for me, I still love looking at because it just really highlights the whole, from when the process starts to post-stay, how many different points you have that you can work on. So when people are struggling for ideas, but I also thought it's something that the revenue team should put up in their office and the marketing, and it should be like a poster on the wall. So every time you're thinking, you're looking at going, okay, yeah, we're doing that quite well. But, you're just going back to that, pull back from what you're doing. Because, people get tunnel vision, they fall into something and they forget where it fits in the process. And okay, we're maximizing these 3 areas, but what about this area? We're getting quite good at this area. So we should amplify that a little bit more. And so it should almost be a prerequisite to every sort of revenue and marketing office. Now they have the customer journey printed and on the wall. So for any spare moment, they're pulling back from the situation and seeing it from the broad view,
I think over the years, as hoteliers, we've been guilty of creating processes or developing initiatives and actions looking inwards into what our capabilities are and what our ability is, as opposed to saying, right, let's take a step back and think of it from a customer's perspective and put the customer at the center of this and say, right, what does she or he go through this, as they interact with this brand, with us? And let me start tackling certain aspects of this. So you maybe start with the high impact touch points throughout that journey and focus on those first. If that's all, that's all the bandwidth and resource you've got.
Correct.
And then go on to secondary and tertiary sort of touch points. So, but the key is you've got to look at it from a customer centric perspective.
Absolutely.
And that's why developing customer journeys is critical. Now, if you want to get into personalization, you want to be able to develop multiple customer journeys for different types of customers or different types of persona, because each person starts and goes through different touch points. Their whole journey or path to purchase, as you'd call it, is going to be different. So am I able to optimize for my best customers first? And then go down that channel again. So these are just certain ways in which you want to think about it. If you don't have, millions at your disposal, which I understand, most hotels would not want to spend initially.
Actually, I was at one event where Brian Bailey's the VP of Revenue for Minor in Thailand, or Minor in general, and And he said the same thing, if you pull back, because he really liked the customer journey, if you pull back and see the broad view, you just then can see, pinpoint where you think the high impact points are first. Just don't be doing nothing, like start somewhere. If you don't have even tech systems and everything, start with Excel and start working out on Excel, like, okay, in this particular section, as long as you're moving towards the right place, because while you're doing that, you're also defining what you might need. So if, for example, you get to the booking process, which is a really important part, someone has searched, they've landed on your site, and now they've put in dates that they're about to search. And what Ivan was talking about, what happens next is really, really important. Are you a business traveler? Do we show you a business deal? Are you a romantic getaway? Are you a stay? I mean, that's a point that I would sort of focus in on. If I had minimum resources, I would say, right, that's a really key point of conversion. Because if I show a person who's traveling for business and I show them a romantic getaway or just a generic room, I've lost them there. And they've kind of gone, and they're probably checking 3 or 4 different sites at the same time. So you've got to really there's certain points that are really important, but all of it's important. But I think as far as a journey goes, you could first sort out what you're good at, like you said, what headcount, what you're capable of, and then it breaks down into personalization, similar journey, but for different profiles, right?
I would like to add, because what Monique said is spot on. Because obviously he's got a hotelier background, and his personalization was to that direction. Now let's focus into what the personalization is from an OTA perspective.
Yeah.
We try to simplify the funnel so much that you could buy any hotel in the world, no matter if it's a Four Seasons or a Holiday Inn, but the process will be the same. So they reduce it's like they take the soul. Let's be poetic about this. I'm Spanish, so I have my rights to show my Latin. So they take away the soul of the hotel, and they make it so easy that it really is very simple, that if you made a booking in booking.com, you could make in any hotel in any part of the world any given day with 5 clicks, only with one eye looking on the site. So the personalization was completely different than the one that the hotel, that the need for personalization is much more, okay, so I don't have to give you 2 different hotels, I just have to give you 3 different room types. And I'm going to play with these different room types, and I'm going to figure out when the right room type is for you.
That's right.
I mean, we go down now into AI personalization. I focus today on targeted personalization, but there are algorithms now that you can actually figure out how likely that user is to book at the time of making the search, because you have actually collected enough data from that user and pan it with previous situations. So by the time that they make the search, you can actually predict how likely that user is to book. So for example, give a 10% discount only if the user is between 0 and 30% probability of conversion. Why would you give a discount to someone who was almost certainly going to book? Right. So you can play with all these different areas, but the hotel personalization is much more complex, but also much more effective on that regard, because you are focusing on one single product, right? While the OTA's personalization is trying to ease the process as much as possible. Both at heart have the concept of easy the process, but from different perspective on that personalization.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And maybe, different user types will explore it differently. I mean, for me, for example, I will go out to the OTAs and I'll spread the net wide. So I want to go here on these dates, show me all the potential hotels. I'll narrow it down to about 4 hotels, and then I'll go on the hotel sites and learn more about, that property, which you can only really get if it's a good hotel site, or the real nuances of that property. And whilst, yes, they're similar in price, I specifically like this property more than that one once I've done more research and stuff, but I'm just one type of shopper, right? So other shoppers will be different, so very interesting times.
But you'll be a different shopper every time that you shop, because when you travel with HSMAI versus when you travel with kids, you're a different shopper.
Correct.
So your profile is changing in real time at the moment in which you are making your
That's true too. Yeah, it's not fixed on my profile. You're right. If I'm traveling for business, it'll be location, be another subset, right? So very true. Well, that's a nice way to freeze your frame, Ivan. I'm not sure if you can still hear me, but
did I freeze?
You froze with a giant smile on your face. So caught you right in the right moment. It's true.
Cut it now. Cut it. Leave it at this then.
All right, well, gentlemen, we're at the end of our 90 minutes. So thank you so much for sharing your views and coming here today and sharing your knowledge. That's what it's all about, is circular knowledge sharing on these calls. And hope the attendees got a lot out of it. And on demand, we expect a much higher watch rate. So if anyone has any questions, you can either find Ivan on LinkedIn or Monique or myself. You can reach out to HSMAI Direct on info@hsmai.com. Other than that, thank you so much for coming, gents. And we'll see you. Have a very Merry Christmas. It's going to get there really quickly now. We're on the slide into the festive season, and see you in 2023.
Thanks, Glenn. Look forward to it, Ivan. Thank you very much too.
Thank you, guys. Take
All
care.
right, guys. Thanks a
Cheers.
lot. Bye-bye.